All right, welcome to Talkin' Investing. I'm Tom, and as always, this is not financial advice. Today, I want to do a Bitcoin and Bitcoin miner update. This is a weekend edition. This is the last week of September. This is also the 11th week of what has been a very difficult stretch for the Bitcoin miners in particular. So I want to go through why I think this week there was a change. I'm going to go through some additional charts, and I'm going to talk about what I think is going to happen in the month of October. I'm shooting for 350 likes on this video. You guys have been doing an unbelievably great job of smashing the like button. It has made a huge difference for the channel, and I really appreciate it. So anybody who's willing, if you could smash the like button, it would be a great big help. Let's take a look at what went on this week. DigiHost was up 19% this week. Bree was up 9%. That was a solid week. Let's take a look at the two benchmarks. Bitcoin, you're going to see in gold as always. Bitcoin was up 1% this week. So this 11-week period I'm talking about, you're going to see Bitcoin didn't so much struggle. It was really more the Bitcoin miners. This week, the NASDAQ was basically flat on the week, up 0%. But you're going to see, I think, 11 miners in the green, one of which was up 0%, which is any, but 10 others were actually in the green. This is the first time we've had a week that looks like this really in about 2.5, close to 3 months. Now, with that said, there still were some Bitcoin miners that struggled this week. BitDeer was down 20%. BitDeer has been the winner for most of the last 6 or 7 weeks. It's been leading the pack. So I think this week you're going to see this was a big correction, basically to get it back in line with what a lot of the other Bitcoin miners are doing. I have specifically mentioned, particularly on the last 4 weekly updates in a row, that I didn't understand why BitDeer was running out ahead of the other miners. It didn't seem to make sense. This trades on extremely low volume, so it seems like this is the week where this corrected. So BitDeer had a big down week, down 20%. Mawson, unfortunately, is a different story. Mawson's been down pretty much every week. It's been amongst the lowest. It's been amongst the worst performers every single week, and you're going to see over the 11-week period, it's in last place. TeraWulf's had one of the worst runs out of all the Bitcoin miners in the last couple of months, so we're going to see that. We're going to take a look at the 11-week period in just a minute, but just know that these two stocks that are at the bottom of the list this week, they're at the bottom of the list in general almost every single week for months now. Then we jump to Cypher, down 5%, so that is a move to the downside. They are in the red, but it's not a drastic move down. Argo Blockchain down 4%, Iris Energy down 3%, CleanSpark down 3%, and Marathon down 2%. It is noteworthy that Marathon and Riot are the two biggest market caps by a mile, and Marathon was a little bit in the red, while Riot was a little bit in the green at 1%. So that's what happened during this week. This is the first week in 11 weeks that we have a predominantly green board here. However, if we shift to the 11-week period, so this goes back to July 14th, you're going to see when we get to the chart later, that was the peak of Bitcoin in the year 2023 so far. You'll see the vast majority are down somewhere between 44 and 53%. So that is a significant leverage to the downside versus Bitcoin. The Bitcoin miners did much worse in this period than Bitcoin. So we'll start out by looking. Bitcoin's down 11% in 11 weeks. Bitcoin is down off of its highs for the year 2023, but it is up on the year, and that's the chart we're going to look at next. And it's up quite nicely on the year. You're going to see NASDAQ in this 11-week period is down 6%. So NASDAQ has pulled back a little, but nothing dramatic. Core Scientific's down 20%. That is now the best performer out of all the Bitcoin mining stocks. Now, I will say Core Scientific is in Chapter 11, so I'm not exactly sure what this means, so be careful. So BitDeer, with this huge week down this week, is now down 31% in this 11-week period, but that's still the second best Bitcoin miner. Then we have a jump down to really where the pack is. You're going to see all of these miners, including some of the biggest names. Riot's down 51%. Marathon's down 53% in this 11-week period. Those are the two biggest by market cap by a mile. Between 44 and 53% is the vast majority of these. And then there are two outliers to the downside, and we discussed these earlier. TeraWulf is now down 64% in the last 11 weeks. That is a rough move. And then Mawson is even worse than that. Mawson is now down 78% in the last 11 weeks. So these two stocks have gotten beaten up severely, even worse than the rest of the Bitcoin miners. It's been a rough run for those of you who have stayed in the Bitcoin miners for this period of time, or for those of you who have dollar cost averaged in even more. It does take a lot of conviction during, this is almost a 3-month period, to hang in there is very difficult. Okay, on the flip side, this is year to date. So this has remained mostly green all year. We had a quick move to the upside for these Bitcoin miners very early in the year. I want to start with 4 that are still in the red. You're going to see Argo Blockchain's down 7% on the year. Stronghold's down 9% on the year. Any, which is Sphere 3D, they're down 31% on the year. And Mawson is down 60% on the year. For these 4 companies to be in the red, they are severely lagging Bitcoin. There's a couple of other companies that are very close to Bitcoin's performance year to date. So to me, those I consider laggards as well, because these should be leveraged plays, and Bitcoin has had a very good year. So particularly Cleanspark at 87%, it's not even close to a 2x leverage, never mind the 3 or 4x leverage that I expect out of these stocks over the course of time. In any given window, obviously that may not be true. I have continued to dollar cost average into Cleanspark. That is not financial advice. I'm not telling you to buy Cleanspark. You guys need to do your own due diligence. Everybody has a different risk tolerance. So obviously, please be careful. All these companies are extremely volatile. So please invest wisely if you're choosing to invest in the Bitcoin miners at all. One of the reasons that Marathon and Riot have had a little separation as far as their stock goes is Marathon did have a massive dilution event, so their market cap still remains the same. In fact, in this period of time where Riot's stock has outperformed Marathon, Marathon's market cap has passed Riot's. So either way, these two are neck and neck. We're going to get to the market cap chart. These are the 2 biggest stocks, and they're very, very similar in market cap. Bitfarms up 143%, and then HUT 129%, and then rounding out the ones over 100% is Hive at 114%. Okay, quickly from a market cap standpoint, this chart I've listed 1 through 12, and the reason is there's 12 Bitcoin miners that have any significant amount of market cap at all. All the rest of them are microcap and nanocap stocks. On this list, you're going to see Marathon and Riot are still by far the biggest by market cap, somewhere over $1.7 billion. BitDeer's over $1 billion still at this point, so that is in a solid 3rd place. And then we did have a flip-flop at 4th and 5th, but you can see Cleanspark and Cypher are very, very close, in a virtual tie. Cleanspark at $594 million and Cypher at $582 million, so just under $600 million stocks. And then there's a big drop off to HUT. And HUT's market cap is largely based on the fact that they have over 9,000 Bitcoin on their balance sheet, so very strong balance sheet. And then there's a drop off. All the rest of these stocks are in this range here, somewhere in the $250 to $300 million market cap. So that's Bitfarms, Wolf, Core Scientific, Hive, and Iris Energy. I do think some of these are worth looking at and adding to your watch list. Again, not financial advice. I'm investing in some of these stocks on this list, and I continue to dollar cost average into some, but this is not financial advice. Okay, now quickly, I want to show you a couple of other charts. I want to show you why I think actually October is going to be a little bit of a breakout. I'm not talking about Bitcoin to the moon, but I do think we're going to break out of this very tight trading range we've been stuck in and maybe make a run back up to $31,000 or $32,000. Now, technically, that is the top side of a trading range we've been in really since March of 2023. So even to run back up to $31,000 or $32,000 technically would not be a breakout. We still would not be taking out the 2023 highs from July of 2023. So there's an awful lot of room left to the upside inside of our current trading range. And I'm going to show you a couple of reasons why I think we may be headed there. Okay, this is the least of the reasons, but I don't want to dismiss this. This is the Bitcoin chart by month. So we just finished September, which is considered the worst month of the year for Bitcoin. So there's only been 2 out of the last 10 years where Bitcoin was green in the month of September. Well, we did finish in the green this September. So that is a little bit of a breaking of a trend. I talked about this on September 1st and September 2nd, that it looked to me like we stood a really good chance of finishing in the green. Potentially, I thought there was maybe a 2 or 2.5% to the downside. There was a very strong line of support about 2.5% below where we entered September. So to me, I thought, unlike other years, we did have a pretty solid floor, which gave us a decent shot of finishing in the green. And it looks like we did finish a little bit in the green. Now, that moves us into the month of October. That is the most optimistic month of the year for Bitcoin and the Bitcoin miners. You're going to see 8 out of the last 10 years Bitcoin finished in the green, and we have 4 years in a row. So I do think there's some optimism, and retail investor sentiment is definitely positive going into October, and it was definitely negative in September. So this does affect the market. This certainly is not the number one thing that I'm looking at, but it's a factor. I don't want to dismiss it because retail sentiment is important in trading of Bitcoin. Okay, a couple of other things that are a little more concrete. If we look at the fear and greed index, you're going to see we had a big drop off in the middle of August. The fear and greed index has been on the rise. It's had a nice line of support. There was one panic event, and this I do think was important. I think there was some capitulation here. When we go to the Bitcoin chart, you're going to see we had a drastic move to the downside. It lasted 1 day. The very next day, we had a big green candle making up all of that room. So we did get down all the way down to 30 on the fear and greed index for 1 day. That's the 1 day where this line of support didn't hold. But I think that day was important. To me, the fact that we jumped down, panicked, and got right back up was a sign of strength for Bitcoin. And the fact that this ascending line of support has been holding really for a month and a half now, I think this is one of the reasons that I think Bitcoin is headed in the right direction and does stand a chance of having a nice little rally in the month of October. If we look at the Bitcoin chart in that same period of time, on the 12th, we completely recovered all the way back to where we were the day before. So we retraced 100% of that fear sell-off, and the fear and greed index has been on the way up ever since. I do see us on the verge of potentially breaking out of this line of resistance that goes all the way back to July 13th. July 13th is when Bitcoin hit its high in the year 2023. This is why I see a lot of room to the upside, trading at around $27,000 as I'm making this video. We could potentially be seeing a move to the upside. So with the fear and greed index showing some momentum and Bitcoin trading still near the lower end of its range, but looking like it's potentially on the verge of a breakout, I think there's reason to potentially believe we could have a run in October. Obviously, we don't know the future. I'm just looking at a lot of the technicals, and I won't go into all of them, but to me, it looks like there's a rising possibility of having a positive September. The next few days will be crucial. I think within the next 3 or 4 days, we're going to see which direction we're heading in. We'll see what happens in the month of October, but that's what happened this last week in Bitcoin and the Bitcoin miners. The month of September is behind us. So best of luck trading, everybody. If you made it this far, please remember to subscribe to the channel, smash the like button, and hit the notification bell. So thanks again for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.